When we see a $10,000 price tag on a bag, we stop and ask, why? At least most of us have. I certainly did. That question is actually what started this whole journey of luxury bag butchering. My initial hunch? The leather and craftsmanship must be so special, right? So I started cutting. I spent hundreds of thousands of dollars and thousands of hours investigating. And in the process, noticed something surprising. There was another player in the game. One that doesn't get much attention, but plays a huge role in the cost, beauty, and even the resale value of the luxury bags. And that is the hardware, the jewelry of the leather bags. In this episode, I will share everything I learned through dissecting luxury bags, from the top-of-the-line hardware down to the cheapest, borderline poisonous ones, the kind millions of people touching every single day. From everything I've seen, there are three pillars to understanding hardware. 1. The material. What is it made from? 2. The finish. How it is polished, coated, or plated. And the third one, the design, intention and execution behind the piece. Each of those tells a different part of the story. Let's start with the material. Hardware can be made from plastic, wood, steel, titanium, a variety of metal alloys, or even precious metals like gold. The most common you will see today is a metal alloy called Zamak, which stands for zinc, aluminum, magnesium, and copper. Zamak is a soft metal mix, very easy to melt and mold it into shape under heat and pressure. That makes the most cost-effective hardware that we see on the market today. But it's not that durable. Internally, those metals form tiny air pockets inside the metals during the casting process, which causes weak spots and breakage down the line. Plus, it scratches easy because it's soft. Once it comes out of the mold, it looks rough and ugly. So it must be sanded and plated to be usable. Next up in materials is brass. Brass is more expensive and harder to melt and mold in casts. But it's also much more durable than Zamak. Even though it's much softer than steel, it holds up very well over time. It also has a naturally appealing color and look to it. You will recognize its green patina in the older Coach and Louis Vuitton bags, which is why it's often polished and used as it is. And it is still commonly used, especially by the artisan community. And finally, the third top-of-the-line material, stainless steel. Tough, unforgiving, and hard to mold. Built to last forever. This one is the most expensive to produce, but the longest living hardware on leather bags. And in fact, it's the go-to standard for luxury brands, at least the good ones. LV in particular is leading the pack here. They always have been using the best stainless steel hardware I have seen in the industry. They even invest and take stake in their dedicated stainless steel suppliers, just like they do for most of their prestigious tannery partners. A crucial strategic decision inside the LVMH group. Now we understand the base materials, but to make hardware look great, it has to be finished, sanded, polished, plated, coated. Brass and stainless steel can be just polished and used as it is with their natural colors. But most hardware gets plated for aesthetical reasons. And when it comes to Zamak, it must be plated. Enter the electroplating, a chemical process where metal particles are bonded to hardware using electrical currents. It's cheap, but it's inconsistent and often toxic to the environment and workers in the process, especially at the lower end of the market. These toxic processes are used to produce the hardwares on the cheap PU, aka fake leather bags you will find on Temu for $20-$30. So next time you see a $20 leather bag, remember it is most likely plastic and the hardware might be harmful to you just to touch. And on the other end of the plating spectrum, there is PVD coating. This process happens in a vacuum chamber, where metals like gold and palladium are vaporized and bonded to the surface of the hardware. It creates a super strong, long-lasting finish. It has an immense preparation process. Each piece is cleaned individually by human hands to make sure there is no contamination on them. Then each piece is hung on special racks placed in a sterile box until they go into PVD coating chambers, where they will be rotating for hours. Fun fact, each of those machines has a gold bar inside, varying between 1 to 3 kilos just to operate. A massive investment. Zamak can't be PVD coated directly. It must first be electroplated with a base layer, then it can be ready for a PVD coating process. Now we know what is it made of and how it is finished. Let's talk about the final pillar, the design. Design of the hardware is where engineering and creativity meets. Each bag needs a unique connection, closure, or a function. This is exactly where truly great hardware shines. Best hardware is custom designed and often branded. It fits the look of the bag and the philosophy of the brand. Even though unbranded hardware can be of great quality, seeing a logo on a PVD coated stainless steel hardware, that's the ultimate sign of intention and investment. In the end, great hardware can become a centerpiece, sometimes even a brand signature, or an incredible ease of use for functionality, like the examples I've seen in some Zamak bags. And that's exactly why in my brand Stow, we use exclusively stainless steel hardware to complement the finest leather we are using and to ensure your bag will last a lifetime. If you want to see a great example of top-line hardware on a great leather bag, check out stowlondon.co.uk. Our mission is sincere luxury, to make top-line leather luxury accessible for the most. And I truly appreciate your support by choosing my bags, my brands that are created with intention. Another thing luxury buyers care for is the resale value, and the hardware plays a key role on that. I have seen mediocre hardware on very expensive bags like this Prada Mini Clio that I purchased a couple years ago. And because of the crappiness of the hardware, I spent 1 year trying to authenticate that bag was indeed an original Prada. Such a shame. Meanwhile, in my experience, Loewe and LV always brings the best hardware to my table. Personally, I don't believe that bags can be investment pieces. To me, that's just a marketing narrative to make luxury buyers feel better about their expensive life choices. But good hardware will help you recover value if you ever resell it. And here's another tip. The hardware is usually the hardest thing for the counterfeiters to replicate. Well, we rarely think about hardware. Sometimes we don't even notice it. But it affects everything from cost to comfort to ethics. At the lowest end, it can hurt people and the planet. At the highest end, it can be an art form, like a jewelry. So next time you hold a leather bag, notice the clasp, appreciate the screws, studs, and honor the hands touched it. Because literally hundreds of people helped creating what you're holding. And the hardware is one of their finest contributions. I hope you find this video helpful and now understand a little bit more about hardware on your leather bags. And as always, until next time, stay leather-tained.